The LA County Stormwater Assessment Protest. You know, it was really interesting because I was thinking about this and happened to go to the halfway house for breakfast with 3 friends and looked down right there at the rack where you get all the papers and stuff. And there was the Country Journal, the Acton newspaper. And right on the front in big letters, drowning in a sea of fee and taxes. I thought it was really, I grabbed it, and lo and behold, right there, right at the beginning, they had a big article on the property owners opposed the clean water fee and talked about the public meeting that was going to take place. Now, what I thought was really interesting about this also is because as I read these articles in the Signal, I don't remember whether I have a piece of that in this presentation or not, but the Signal talked about what the actual flyer said that we got, that it was going to be, you know, oh yeah, it's going to be $54 average. Well, it can't quite be $54 average because it's 54 to 84. And maybe it's a lowball average, right? And then they talked about, well, you know, a restaurant or a business would be like $420 a year. But when you got your thing, when you got this thing in the mail, if you didn't think it was a piece of junk mail, if you didn't think it was another one of those flyers, I get them all the time from air conditioning companies that say, you have an official notice, and you open it up, and what it is, it's an air conditioning company that wants you to service your air conditioner, right? Or one of them that wants you to buy an insurance policy on your water line from the street to the house. You guys get those too, right? Okay. Well, if you didn't think this was one of those, if you thought this was a real item, in it told you in your parcel how much it was going to be. Now, I have a little itty-bitty parcel, so it was only $54, right? But if you go back and you read some of these, the article from the Aquadulce Journal, you find out that somebody that had a 30-acre parcel got a $20,000 bill. So you're talking about property taxes that occur every year, irrespective of what they already pay. You're going to put another $20,000 on top of that. Isn't that fun? Okay?
Irrespective if they have their own water reclamation, too. Some of these people have their own systems to clean the water.
Well, stormwater? They could. Well, actually, they did talk about some of the big development, some of the projects that had. Yeah, you're right. Right. Homeowners, huh? Okay. So anyway, you had this fine little protest form, and you had to also check it you can't just sign it. You had to check the little box and said, I'm protesting this thing, and send it in. And but if you'd lost it, you know, you could send a letter, but you had to have your parcel number. But you should have had that because you're just paying your property tax bill now, right? So you should have known it. You already paid it. Okay, so you should know everywhere where it is, all of the information about that. So you look at this and you say, doesn't everybody want clean water and beaches? What could possibly be wrong with this? I mean, I don't want, you know, dirty air or dirty beaches and doesn't Proposition 218 protect taxpayers and prevent people from spending money on things that are unrelated to what you're paying for? Isn't that what Proposition 218 was for? Yeah. Didn't our state pass Proposition 13 to stop the runaway rate of inflation of your property tax, and then Proposition 218 so that they could have special districts that did special things? Well, what changed? Well, what changed is AB 2554. That's what changed. We got a new player in town, one that is now something that we should be able to talk to our elected officials about. And what AB 2554 does is it does something special. And I hope you all feel special, because AB 2554 only affects Los Angeles County. This is a Los Angeles County only rule. Okay? So what it does is it says, we're going to change the Los Angeles County Flood Control District. We're going to change them from just being a flood control district to a district that also takes care of water quality. And in order to do this, you know, in an obvious government way, we need a new bureaucracy to handle this. And this new bureaucracy needs some powers to go with it. And this is pretty standard whenever they create this kind of a situation. They're saying that this group can borrow money, so they can sell bonds, they can raise money if they need to, they can buy and take land using eminent domain. So if in fact they decide that they need a piece of land to meet their needs, they can take it for the public good. And it's allowed to impose fees or charges. So here we go again. This is just like the current stormwater fee here in Santa Clarita, which is a Proposition 218 district. But remember that stormwater and sanitation get special exceptions. So you don't get even to talk about a protest vote if they want to raise the fees. The board just raises the fee and does it. This is another one of those kind of deals. So what they're going to do is they're going to take 10% of that money, and they're going to go give it to the districts so that they can plan what to do. Seems reasonable that they know what to do. And then they're going to take 40% and they're going to return it to the cities. So I think I have this later in the presentation. It's anticipated that if they were to do this within the Santa Clarita area, they would collect, city of Santa Clarita, they would collect $8 million. And then they would give back $3.2 million. That's 40%. So you would get to pay $8.8 million to get $3.2 million back. And then they would take 50% to 9 special watershed authority groups to implement collaborative water quality improvement plans or programs in the watershed. So I assume that what that means is, and that's a bad thing to do, what I assume is that is projects that are going to go across the different areas. So, you know, this is just not, we're going to do this, take this 50%, we're going to implement something that doesn't affect Santa Clarita, but it also affects somewhere else. So that's what Proposition 2554, and I don't remember the lady's name that introduced this into the state legislature, but she was from Santa Monica. So what's the issue? What's the issue? What is everybody so upset about? Well, you know, there's really no direct accountability to the public. So there is always accountability, but no direct accountability. So these particular boards would not be elected. They'd be appointed. And so if you actually had a real problem with them, you'd have to bring tar and feathers to the area, whoever it was that appointed them, right? And because of the way this piece of legislation is written, there's no specific plan. None. So it doesn't say what they're going to do. It says what they could do. So here it is, you know, instead of like the other Proposition 218 districts where the engineer's report comes out and says this is what we're going to do. An example is our open space and parkland district, where it tells you what they're going to spend the money for. This one just says, well, you know, we could do these things. So you don't know that that's actually going to happen. And they're projected in the LA County area to collect $200 million per year forever. Okay, once you start this, never ends. So it's going to go on for a very, very long time. And this also is in addition to the new stormwater fee, or to not new, it's in addition to any stormwater fee that we already collect. So the one that we collect in Santa Clarita is not going to go away. This is going to be in addition to that. And there's no legislated top to what they could increase the fees. There's no CPI increase limitation, they can raise it however they want. And so here's where it says they would collect approximately $8 million from Santa Clarita, and then they would return only $3.2 million. That's really great, guys. So in addition, I think this is the part that just frosts me more than anything else. It taxes all municipalities, including schools, churches, and open space. So let me see now. You guys have got to remind me if I have forgotten something, but I thought that the state just passed Proposition 30 that was supposed to provide money to schools because they didn't have enough money. So here, Proposition 30, going to push money in the front door to schools, and the county is going to steal it out the back door. Right, now it just doesn't seem right. So realize that, of course, this will get our friends at City Hall's attention because it also taxes the city's property. So all the city's property, and I saw one article in the paper that said that's approximately $600,000 a year. So here you go. Now let's see now. I pay property tax. I pay fees to the city, and then the city takes that money and pays taxes with it. Just doesn't seem right to me. Anyway, so while we're told a single-family home would have to pay $54 to $84 per year, we've seen our ads about 30-acre property owners that have been assessed $20,000 a year. We had the one in the Signal up here that people that said they had a 6-acre commercial slot, and they're being assessed $13,000 a year. Especially with commercial property, who do you think is going to get to pay for that?
The customers.
The customers, of course. So the city of Santa Clarita, the city council, decided to agendize this. And on January 8th, they had agenda item 9, and they wanted to talk about this. And the recommended action from the staff was to direct staff to file a protest form on all properties owned by the city prior to the January 15th deadline. So here, like anybody else that has a piece of property, they were going to file their protest form. And I did call into the county and I asked at one point, when you count the protest forms, remember we've had this situation before. All of these protests are not created equal. Some of them, a protest person gets a vote. Some of them, they're determined by either the size of whatever they have, right? I said, which one is this? Is this by the size of, or is this a one protest for one parcel? And they said it's a one protest for one parcel. And I think that's interesting because that kind of weights it to the people with the smaller increases having more votes. But anyway, they decided to go do this, and I thought that was a really great thing, and they did. They talked about it, and they said that they were going to oppose it, and that they were going to go generate a letter for it, and they did. And realize also that, and think about this for just a little bit as we go on, that when this passed at the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Antonovich and Tanabe were dissenting. And Supervisor Antonovich has been pushing out information about this and saying this is not a good thing to do. So getting off of another article, a list of opponents of stormwater taxes growing. This came out of Santa Clarita Valley News on January the 15th. And it said over 185,000 businesses oppose. Well, that's you'd think that. The Nature Trust of the Santa Monica Mountains said they would get a $46,000 tax bill, put them out of business, and force them to sell their preserve property. It talked about a church reporting that they would be charged upwards of $7,000 a year. And they didn't think they could raise that kind of money in addition to what it took now to keep the doors open. But if that's not bad enough, commercial chains like Target, Ralph's, and they have multiple locations around LA County, could see their tax bills increase by $500,000. Now, guess who gets to pay that? But, you know, it's interesting because if you tax too many people too much in LA County, well, we might just have to go shopping in Ventura County. Who knows, you know? Isn't the sales tax lower there? Anyway, it's getting comical. I used to travel up to Canada a lot for business, and we had a factory in Canada, and the Canadians used to come down to the United States 4 times a year and buy things, and you would think, oh, they're going to buy, you know, I don't know, some impressive item, and they would come by and bring back the maximum amount of toilet paper and paper products and those kinds of things, because at that time everything was at least 25% more expensive in Canada. So well, I'd hate to see this start a county-to-county issue of something happened to be the same. So there is some local opposition, as I said, Supervisor Antonovich, and I thought Tanabe was opposed to this new tax, but we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Tanabe, huh? Kanabe, right, I'm sorry. And the city of Santa Clarita, our local schools, the SCP Chamber of Commerce, and we have chimed in, and you know that I've sent stuff out to you and said, hey guys, you've got to really make sure to send in your protest letter. So the protest meeting was held yesterday, and what happened? What were the results of that protest? Well, I heard 200 speakers. They must have reduced the amount of time you could speak. Did they do that? 1 minute, right? You know, that's what I love about this. You know, if you get 3 minutes to speak, but bring 200 people, so you know you had a problem. So let's only let them speak for a minute. You know, maybe if we let them speak for 30 seconds, we can get them through faster. But I heard it took 4 hours to do this, and I thought that was just a terrible thing. So what they did was they did something that I think is probably not in our best interest. They voted a 60-day extension. Okay, and when they voted that 60-day extension, this was a Kanabe motion. And what he wanted them to do was he wanted to have the 60-day extension to consider fee exemptions for schools, a potential of a sunset clause, as if saying it's only going to last 30 years is going to make me feel any better, that would cause the fee to expire after a certain amount of time, and that certain specific list of projects that the fee would fund. Well, that's a nice thing. Tell me what you're going to do with the money. I like that part. But what it sounds to me like is all of a sudden Mr. Kanabe is saying, if I can get rid of some of this opposition, maybe I'll pass it. Right? So Supervisor Antonovich voted against it again. And I haven't talked to the supervisor's office, but I believe he did it because he doesn't think we should do it at all. And I'll go verify that. But so it's and then of course they want to direct the staff to examine whether the proposed fee can be made a general ballot issue as opposed to a vote by mail issue. If it becomes a general ballot issue, it requires a 2/3 majority. If it's a vote by mail, Proposition 218 with its 2445 modifications, it's a just over 50% issue. So it's not over. I mean, it was great that we had so many people there, loved it, but it ain't over. It ain't over by a long shot. Yes, sir.
Did they get around Prop 13 by calling it a fee?
Well, Proposition 13, I'm sorry, let me go back. Proposition 218 allows agencies to form districts, special benefit districts. And special benefit districts charge fees for service. They don't charge a tax. Now, to you and I, you know, not being a lawyer like Mr. Brawley that just walked in a little bit ago, when I pay my tax bill, my property tax bill, that's a tax, right? And so don't be, no one's fooled that it's not coming out of your pocket when they call it a fee. And I had a campaign flyer from a council person in the past, and it says, "We have never voted to increase a tax." No, because you don't have any taxes. You have fees. So it's not over, and we just have to wait. So I'll urge all of you, if you haven't sent in your protest form, send it in. Got 60 more days to get as many protest forms as we can. I don't think they even thought for 1 minute that they were going to get so much pushback. And that's a good thing, even if they only let you talk for a minute. Yes, sir.
There was one more item that should have been on that list of people being impacted, and that is drinking water supply companies, all their pipes, all their reservoirs, all their properties, they're going to get hit hard.
Oh, well, they're not going to get hit hard. We're going to get hit hard. Because all they'll do is pass it on to us. Right, right. I don't care who you tax. It always ends up coming out of the pocket of the consumer and the people who live here, right? Yeah, go ahead, tax the someone says, "Oh well, I can see it now, oh well, it's just the water agency, don't worry about it. They get taxed." Well, what do you think they do? They just pass it on, right? I loved Tim Ben's comment. Right, Jim Ben's comment, and he was on Channel 11, I think, with it. Yeah, you have managed to do something people thought was impossible. God sends us rain, and you figure out how to tax it. So it was a great comment. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Last week I was at a Newhall County Water District meeting, and they said that if it went through, it would be $10,000 a year. It would be $10,000 a year if they got that tax. Plus, they said they were going to send in on every single property. They were going to send a no on every single property.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't say an overall one like the city. So that's kind of interesting, because I'm wondering if that should be done that way.
Well, no, I think the city did. I think the city did when it said what they were going to do. I think they did send a no vote for each piece of property assessed. So I think they realized that too. But yes, and $10,000 for CLWA. Is that what we're saying? No. Oh, from Newhall Water, right? Newhall Water. Oh yeah, much, right, much. So we'll just have to keep watching this, because you know what they're doing is they're going to try to say, okay, so we're going to try to take some of the people out of the mix, say, so you're not opposing it, and then they're going to let it sit, and they're going to hope you go to sleep, and then they're going to pass it, and this is just be devastating. So, yes.
I was going to add something. We were talking about how they could be passed through. One of the protests was from apartment owners associations that they could not pass it through in rent-controlled apartments. So the owner of the apartment building would have to pay it, but could in fact not pass that cost along to the tenants. That was their big complaint.
Those are rent control apartments in Santa Monica?
Anywhere.
Santa Monica has rent control in some of their apartments. So, well, you know what? You can say that, and maybe they can't raise the rent. They'll just reduce the services. If there's no money, there's no money. You and I are not like the federal government. We can't spend money we don't have, right? So if it gets to a point where you don't have enough money, well, then you just will stop maintaining the apartment. That's all. So it's not a good thing, no matter what.